Have you ever stopped to wonder where a DevOps engineer's tasks actually come from? It's definitely not as random as it might seem. Today, we're going to follow the entire life of one single idea, from a customer's simple wish all the way down to your command line.
So look, you can spend months, even years, learning Kubernetes, Docker, Terraform, the whole shebang. But knowing the tools, that's really only half the battle. The real question, the one we're digging into, is how do those tools connect to actual business problems? To get that, we have to start at the very beginning.
You know, the journey almost never starts in the tech department. Nope. The spark for pretty much every big project begins with something way simpler. A thought, a little piece of feedback, or a wish from the one person who matters most in any business, the customer.
Okay, let's use a real-world example to make this stick. Imagine a customer says this. It's a simple idea, right? But it's super powerful. So how does this wish for lightning-fast groceries turn into a specific, concrete task for a DevOps engineer? Well, that's the exact journey we're about to follow.
So the first leg of this journey involves, get this, absolutely zero code. It's all about translating that customer's wish into a plan that people can actually act on. This is where the idea gets poked, prodded, refined, and eventually shaped into something real.
So this idea, it enters this kind of funnel with some really key people. First up, you've got a business analyst. Their job is to grab that customer's wish and formally write down what exactly needs to happen. Then, the product manager steps in. They're like the gatekeeper, deciding if and when we should even build this thing. They're asking, does this actually help our business? Once it gets the green light, the product owner takes over to figure out the how, breaking that massive idea down into big manageable chunks called epics.
So here's the bottom line for this first phase. It's all about checking if the idea is good, figuring out where it fits in our priorities, and making it super clear. It makes sure that by the time any tech person sees this thing, it's not some vague wish anymore. It's a well-defined, approved project.
And now the baton is passed. The idea, which is now a structured plan, finally leaves the business side of the house and lands right in the lap of the technical experts, the people who have to figure out how to actually, build it.
But wait, before anyone writes a single line of code, the solutions architect steps in to draw up the master blueprint. They map out the entire system, every service, every database, all the infrastructure needed. This gives us two crucial documents: the high-level design, or HLD, which is kind of the 30,000-foot view, and the low-level design, the LLD, which gets into all the nitty-gritty details for the builders.
So with this super detailed blueprint in hand, the development team can finally get to work. And it's right here, in this moment, as they start digging into the plan, that the connection to DevOps becomes crystal clear. A developer looks at that architect's design and immediately realizes something. They say, okay, to make this thing work, I'm going to need a brand new Kubernetes cluster and a couple of Git repositories. And of course, those things don't just magically appear out of thin air. Someone's got to ask for them.
And that right there, that's the moment. That developer's request for a Kubernetes cluster, that is the birth of a DevOps task. See, it's not random. It's not out of the blue. It is the very last link in a long chain that started with a simple customer idea.
Okay, so you've got all these different teams, all these different roles. How on earth does anyone keep track of all this stuff? I mean, without some kind of central system, it would be pure chaos. And that's exactly why companies use project management tools, to make the whole workflow visible to everyone. Just think about it for a second. A manager, a developer, a product owner, they all need to know what's happening with this 15-minute delivery feature. That's where a tool like Jira comes into play. It acts as the single source of truth for who's doing what and where everything stands. So how is all this work actually organized? Well, think of it like this. The entire 15-minute delivery feature, that's the big box, the main project. In the world of project management, we call that the epic. But you can't just deliver an empty box, right? It's made up of a bunch of smaller pieces. And each one of those little puzzle pieces is a specific task needed to get the job done, like our Kubernetes cluster. That's called a story. This whole system is what gives everyone clarity. The DevOps engineer isn't just creating some random cluster for no reason. No, they are building a critical piece of the puzzle that fits into the much bigger picture of that 15-minute delivery service. Every single task has a clear purpose.
So we've just followed a single task all the way from a simple idea to an actual assignment. Now, let's zoom out a bit and see how this entire flow fits into the wider, more established process of building software.
You see, that whole journey we just walked through, from the customer's wish to the developer's request, it's not just a random collection of steps. It's part of a formal, industry-standard process called the Software Development Lifecycle, or SDLC. It's basically the official playbook for how you build and maintain software.
And if you look at this timeline, you can see our story fits in perfectly. The business and product teams, they handled the planning and analysis. The architect, they were in charge of the design. And our task, the Kubernetes cluster, landed smack dab in the middle of the implementation phase, which is where developers and DevOps engineers work side by side. It's a logical, repeatable process.
But this brings up a really important question. If all these tasks just flow downhill from developers, does that mean the DevOps role is just reactive? Just sitting around waiting for the next ticket to pop up? Well, the answer to that is a hard no.
A great DevOps engineer doesn't just work in the system. They are always working on the system. They look at this whole life cycle and they ask, how can we make this faster? How can we make it safer and more efficient? They're the ones building the CI/CD pipelines to automate away all the manual work, integrating security checks earlier in the process, and constantly hunting for those little bottlenecks that are slowing the whole team down.
So the real takeaway here is this. Completing the task, building that Kubernetes cluster, that's the what. But the true spirit of DevOps, the real goal, is improving the how. It's all about making the entire system that delivers value to the customer faster, more reliable, and more secure, so that the next great idea can be delivered even better.
So now you know the full journey. You get the context behind every task that's going to land on your plate. And yeah, completing that task is important. But the real challenge, and honestly the real value you bring to the table, is looking at this whole system and asking that one question that truly defines DevOps. How can I make this better?